When the dot-com boom came around, there was very few people that ever thought it would pop. And when it did, there was a few companies that luckily scaved away and they stayed on top. But if not at the same time, thousands of people lost their jobs and stayed broke. And right now, we're watching the same exact thing happen in the online info space. But luckily in today's video, we're gonna be talking about the tools you need to survive this next coming year. Because the middle class of online education is disappearing. We're seeing people struggling to make 20, 30K a month, while others can sell 80 million in info products in a single day. These are the people that are taking all of the market share. And not to mention AI is going to take your place. What was once a $1,000 to $5,000 offer is being reduced down to a $25 ChatGPT subscription. It's because AI can tell you and your clients exactly what to do. The gold rush of info is over. No longer can you just pan the streams and find that gold. The ones who are going to survive are using new tools in saturated markets. They're providing real transformations and real experiences. And that's what we're going to be giving to you is the 5 shifts to not only just survive, but thrive in this new era of online info. If you implement everything that I'm going to be covering in today's video, you're going to be riding the new wave of this market evolution. Because ultimately, there's 3 kinds of markets. And this is taken from a famous economist, Paul Gorowski, where he explains that evolutions of a market, our market is always evolving. All markets are. And they initially start out with new ideas, and then those new ideas become consolidated. And then finally, those consolidated ideas become dominated by a single or a few people. And this is exactly what we're seeing. Our market evolve where, yes, we had our gold rush phase. You could, I would say from 2016 to 2024, go out in our social media landscape and make any claim and easily make money. You can say, hey, I'm going to help you get to 10K with Airbnb. Boom, all of a sudden you were making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month teaching people that. Or, hey, I'm going to help you lose 20 pounds of weight. And getting clients was very easy back then. And if you talk to anybody from 2016 to 2024, it was the heyday of info. And even when I sold info products back then, I was selling an editing course. I racked that thing up to $30,000 in a single month with a $120 editing course. I could not do that today because it's not as easy. I would end up probably losing out on a ton of money trying to selling an editing course because everything's for free. But that was our gold rush period. Now we are 100% in this formation period. Okay, so you could be with your boys here, mining for gold with shovel and some pans here, and you could make a lot of money. But things started to become more established. Essentially, to be in the gold space, you needed to have a legitimate company with legitimate tools, and you couldn't easily compete. Entering this was also a lot harder because these people were the ones that already have a ton of money and already have all the land. So trying to enter this market and compete becomes very hard. And ultimately what this means in the info space, standing out becomes extremely hard. Really what a lot of viewers and prospects are saying is, I've seen this before. I've seen this offer before. I've seen this type of content before. That is what's happening. And then finally, the retention phase. This is where ultimately a couple big players are dominating this space, and we're already seeing this as well. It's because there's no trust in the new companies. Like imagine you went in to start a gold mining company, and then you're trying to sell that gold to buyers, right? Well, those buyers might not trust you. They're going to go to the company that is already well established because they fully trust. So the barrier to entry in this market is extremely hard. There's a few dominant players here, and this is what we're entering. Like I said, we've already seen Alex Hormozi easily sell $80 million of an info product in a single day, while you still struggle to sell 10K in a month. If that doesn't speak something, I don't know what does. On top of that, the market saturation is extremely high, meaning the sophistication of the market is ultimately rising because there's so many people in the market, once again, saying the same thing. This also means the skepticism of your prospect rises. When people say the same thing or copying each other, the prospect no longer believes in the things that people are saying, and they're ultimately more skeptical. The buying window becomes much longer. And right now we're in a level 4 and level 5 in market sophistication and saturation. To even throw more on top of that, we have ChatGPT here. This terrible screenshot is basically showing you that 86% of students use AI in their studies. So I would even say it's more than this. Probably the people that you're trying to service, they're using AI to help them overcome their problems. They're using AI to find all of their information. And what this is causing is consolidation. So you selling your $1,000 to $5,000 program where you're giving away worksheets and informative videos no longer works, because this $5,000 product is just ChatGPT. It's going to be worth $25 a month. It already is worth $25 a month because you can get all of your answers from ChatGPT. So a ton of stuff aren't working. Copying isn't working. Just selling info isn't working. I have copying here twice, but it's really not working. And then offer and guarantees, these scammy things, these over-promised things is just not working in this type of landscape that we're in today with online info. And this is why the bubble is popping here. But what can you do to combat this? The first shift here is identity shifting. Ultimately, people are not paying for information. They're paying to become somebody else. And what a beginner info seller or coach, the way they probably operate is like this guy here. They're selling their info, they're selling their coaching, and they're selling their group calls. And they're putting a price tag on this. That's very beginner level. Most people are probably this guy here, where they understand that the info, the coaching, and the group calls is the vehicle, the mode of transportation to get somebody to their transformation. Lose 20 pounds in 90 days. That's the transformation. So they know that they're selling a transformation. And it just so happens that providing information, coaching, and group calls is the way to get them to that transformation. This is a vehicle. And they understand this, and they put a lot of their marketing efforts into this transformation. But here's the thing. In our landscape today, transformation isn't deep enough. We're not selling this as a vehicle to get here. What we're ultimately selling is the identity. Who do they become? Instead of lose 20 pounds in 90 days, become a leader for your family is the identity. I was going to say transformation, but is the identity you want to sell. Because the thing is, when they become this person, keeping the weight off is easy. The decisions of working out is easy. The decisions of eating the right food is easy. So this is what we're ultimately selling, is who they become, the identity that's attached with it. And we need different tools and a different vehicle to get them there. And just like myself, I'm not selling my model. I'm giving that all away for free. My free stuff on brand identity, identity shifting, and having your CEO identity is all on my YouTube channel. That's free. Give away your model for free. But ultimately, when somebody joins my program, we're turning them into somebody else. And that's the person who is capable of making $30,000 a month. This person easily makes decisions, actions that align with this. It becomes natural for them, almost like magnetic for them in my case. And that is ultimately identity. So how do you begin to identity shift in a way? Well, first off, your messaging needs to be identity shifting messaging, and I'll have a YouTube video on that. But ultimately, your program can't just be a program. You're going to need tools, AI tools, to get somebody the information quickly. You're going to need strategy for them to follow, but you're going to need to be giving them experiences, beliefs, and values that ultimately make up identity so that they are that person where losing weight becomes natural or making money becomes effortlessly. So that is shift number one, which is identity shifting. Shift number two might be the most important shift because it's really backed off of shift number one, which is selling the beliefs. If you sell the belief, you can get anyone to take action on anything. Let me explain. Right now, most of these people are telling us we're in a trust recession. Some of the biggest players in our space, there's a lot of other people preaching this as well that are really, really big. They're screaming at you, hey, we're in a trust recession. We're in a trust recession. And then they tell you to combat this trust recession, we have our unique method, which is essentially an ecosystem, which is also essentially you just creating more content, all in order to fill out this rule, the 7-11-4 rule. 7 hours of content through 11 different touch points, through 4 different formats will get somebody to purchase into you and your product. And Google came up with that based off of a study. Now, I do agree with this. Like, you should be doing more content that gets people to spend more time with you. But the problem is, the trust recession, the more content, the 7-11-4 rule is half of the picture. Nobody's explaining the second half until me. And really it stems from the question that nobody's asking. What does it mean we're in a trust recession? Why is a trust recession happening? What actually combats a trust recession other than just making more content? So what it ultimately means that like the reason why we're in a trust recession is because the market has become skeptical of claims. People are questioning the authority and authenticity of people, and prospects are taking a longer time to make buying decisions, and they ultimately need more proof in order to make a buying decision. So this is all leading for their trust to be gone. But once again, it's not that we're in a trust recession. It's that all of this is pointing to that the buyer has lost belief in all solutions. They no longer believe in you. They don't know what to believe. They don't know what product's better than the other. They don't know whose claim is better than the other. They don't know whose system works better than the other. They are losing belief. And this is the core reason of why we are in a trust recession. This is the second half. On top of all of that is the market level of sophistication is extremely high. The skepticism is high. More people are entering the market. By 2032 or whatever study that you look at, some of them say it's going to be at 300 billion. Some of them say it's going to be at 1 trillion, the online educational space. Now, this is a good thing. Markets need to be trending upwards for you to make money. But the problem is more people are in the space. More people are causing more of skepticism, more of a situation where people need to question who's really who has the authority, who is truly being authentic, who has the best system, who has the best proof. And people are using the same playbook as well. Guarantees, Alex Moses' ways of putting together offers, and the belief in you and your offer is down. So with a market that's high in competition and low in trust, the buyer has lost belief in who to go with in order to receive their transformation. Why do they believe in you and your service? So ultimately, you need to be selling belief. Selling belief is the ultimate way for somebody to fully trust you. If you believe in somebody, you're going to follow them. If you believe in a certain method, you're going to implement it. It comes down to that. So the shift number 2 that you need to be doing is selling the belief. Okay, so shift number 3, authenticity. Authenticity is the new status symbol. Okay, from 2016 to 2024, during the gold rush, you can get away with creating value content, stealing like an artist, scripted content, and having a perfect online presence. I mean, we can think of a dozen people who ran this playbook dry. I mean, think of Alex Hormozi and all of the value that he's put out in the world. He's ran that playbook dry. Think about all the people that are stealing from other individuals and putting that, like anybody can go search up their competitor, look at what they're saying, take their script, rearrange it a little bit, and essentially put out the same thing and look like an expert, right? So all of this stuff of being scripted, providing value, stealing from others, having a perfect online presence isn't what's creating one of the most important things, which is what the market wants. It's authenticity. It's connection. In order to sell a product, people obviously have to trust you and they have to believe in you. And the best way to do that is getting them to connect with you. And we're seeing people run up this playbook right now. People like Shelby Sapp. She mixes in her personality, her authenticity. TJR here, doing the same thing. If you look at his content, it's just him. It's extremely authentic. Brett Skills is documenting himself. He's being authentic. He's creating a connection. People are craving this because all this playbook has been ran dry. And I know you're probably asking too, how do I engineer authenticity? How do I be more authentic? The thing is, you don't. That's the thing with authenticity. It's almost like a paradox. If you try to be authentic, you're not being authentic. But what you can do to draw out your personality, who you are, is showing your identity, putting your identity into content, essentially building a brand identity that makes you different from everybody else. And this is sharing your values, your beliefs. Your race is a part of your identity. This is just going to be shown through content natural. Your enemies, your environment twice, your religion. These are all things that make up your identity. And if you speak on these things, it's you. It's your authentic you. Your beliefs are authentic. Your values are authentic. Your race is obviously authentic. This is the stepping stone to authenticity. At the end of the day, the market is craving this. Begin to implement a lot of it into your content. We're also seeing this as well. Like when we talk about identity, showcasing your identity, the coach that targets, let's say a fitness Asian coach that targets Asian men is selling a whole lot better than a fitness coach that is targeting all men. Why is that? Well, they're catering to a specific identity. And if you think of identity, at least in this case, race is part of that identity. There's a deep connection established because ultimately the Asian coach understands the Asian person more, and they're also connected through identity. They're going to give that person more money. We're seeing things like this, Asian coaches targeting Asian coaches, Muslim men targeting Muslim men, Christian people, that's another part of a identity. They're targeting other Christian people. Think about it like this, like Jewish people are very connected with Jewish people because they're part of the same religion. That religion makes up their identity. They're going to help one another out. That's kind of like the same thing that's happening here. So be authentic, develop your brand identity, showcase more of yourself, establish connection. Shift number 4 is the organic recession that we're experiencing here. So if you look like this guy, or if you're making content like this, we're seeing a recession. Not only that, everybody's using AI. And when you use AI to create content, AI content, all that AI is doing is pulling from AI content, right? If you tell ChatGPT, hey, create me 5 videos on this topic, all ChatGPT is doing is searching their database. And if that database is filled with a bunch of people that are already making AI content, they're stealing from AI content, and it becomes this never-ending loop of AI content. This is why authenticity is important. But ultimately, what we're seeing is like everybody's seeing this. Everybody's fed up with this style of content. Everybody's fed up with this guy saying the exact same thing. And ultimately, like, views are down across the board. I don't have to show any studies on that. Just go over to Instagram. You'll see people with 100,000 followers barely getting any views. You'll see new people starting out and they're just getting 100 views, where 2 years ago, if you're new and you started out, you knew what you're doing, you could get 10,000 views right away. Views are ultimately down across the board. And here's the problem. What gurus are telling you about this is you don't need views to get clients. They're telling you this because they don't know what's actually happening. They're really pissing themselves. They're scared on what's happening here. They're saying you don't need views to get clients because ultimately their views are down and they don't know why. And they tell you to form an ecosystem to combat this. And that is ultimately more content, more YouTube videos, more IG Reels, more content in your school community, more emails. This is your ecosystem that's going to nurture people. Ultimately, what they're doing is subsidizing the lack of views for more content, right? If I was once getting 10,000 views on my Instagram reel and now it's getting 1,000, all I need to do is create more YouTube videos, more posts in school, and more emails to equal out to originally what I was getting. So these gurus ultimately are telling you views don't matter, but they're going out and doing things that are getting them more views. It's just not through Instagram Reels. And then they're also, a big thing is they're paying for views. This is a part of the ecosystem model, or flywheel, whatever name you want to call it. They're paying for views. And yeah, organic's dead because of all of these things above, because AI content and everything. And yeah, paying for views isn't a bad thing. But the problem is, when everybody starts paying for views, the cost per, you paying for ads begins to skyrocket. Like we can see the cost per lead here has skyrocketed to 20% over the past year. To put it another way, it's 1.2 times more expensive to run ads than last year. So more and more people are going to be running ads. That means the ads are just going to go up and up and up. So how do you combat this? How do you get more views? Well, the self-funding funnel is ultimately the shift that you need to make because of this organic recession. And why does the self-funding funnel work the best? This is where you're just hyper-targeting buyers by paying for views that you're going to need to do anyway because of the organic recession. So you're hyper-targeting people. You're selling a low-ticket product, $7 to $127 a month, and then you're liquidating your ad spend. You're liquidating the rising cost of ads in order to get customers and then put them in your ecosystem where they can ascend to your high-ticket info product. And this is the ultimate way to combat this recession. Instead of relying on organic content where you get a viewer, you turn them into a lead, and then you make this large jump where they're then paying you $5,000 online, what you're doing is making it easier for them to step into the new process. You get a viewer, so you're paying for ads. You get them as a lead, you turn them into a customer, liquidate that, and then you can easily ascend them to a client because A, they've bought into you, they bought into your ecosystem, the trust is there, and then if they want more, they can ascend. So it's that simple. This is the shift that you need to be making. I have a whole entire another video on this. If you want that, the link is in the description for you to check that out. But let's go on to shift number 5, which is being prolific. Right now, with this market evolution, the riskiest thing you can do is create non-risky content. To visually represent this, which is non-risky content, is you being like super vanilla, aka you saying the same exact things as your competitors. This is what it visually looks like. Where is you? This is what it looks like when you say some stuff, say some crazy stuff. You stand out in the market, and being prolific is essential. And this is really taken from Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secrets, where he has this prolific index. You have mainstream and then you have crazy on the right. In the middle between mainstream and crazy is the money zone, which is the prolific zone. So what does being prolific mean? Ultimately, it's going against the grain. It's saying stuff that people haven't been saying. This is why we've seen some of the biggest info sellers scale up to hundreds of millions, like Andrew Tate, is because the man was saying prolific stuff. He was standing out. He was going against the norm. And this is what you need to be doing. Not only in the ideas and beliefs and the enemies that you create, but also in your product and service itself. When Russell Brunson is explaining this prolific idea, he uses the example of a health coach that would market his product based off of the US government nutrition plan. You know, the nutrition pyramid, or whatever it is now, the plate. Imagine if you're going to sell people based on the idea that we're going to be doing the stuff that the US government is telling us to do. They already know it. They've seen it before. Maybe they've even tried it. Nothing is that crazy. That's mainstream. But in his book, he begins to explain that there's a guy who sold his health and wellness program backed on the idea of putting butter in your coffee or tea. Now, if you hear that, you're like, what? Why would you put butter in your coffee and tea? When he goes to explain like the science behind it and how it helps burn fat, you begin to believe in it. But the thing is, that is on the edge. That product, that idea, that pathway, the tool is on the edge of being a little bit crazy. It gets you interested in it. It's a new way of doing things. And this is where you also need to be prolific. It's not just in the things you're saying, but it's in your product itself. That ultimately is going to get you to stand out. So this is the protocol, the shifts that you need to be running. You need to be identity shifting. You need to be selling beliefs, combating the organic recession with a self-funding, low-ticket funnel, and being prolific. That's going to help you stand out. If you want more tools on this for you to get there a lot quicker, I have that inside my free school community. There's a ton of people in that community already. I give away tools for you to implement all of this stuff ASAP. So go ahead, check that out. It's completely for free. With that, I'll see you in the next one.